Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce, my name is Anjali Ramadhani. Now I will explain monetary economy about international financial system, the balance of payment. Introduction: how the international financial system function in linked national economy through exchange rate mechanism, capital flows, and monetary policy interaction. As globalization incentive, cross-border movement of funds have become more rapid and influential, causing change in interest rate, inflation, or expectation in one country to impact economic stability elsewhere. Miskin emphasizes that understanding how exchange rate are determined, how exchange rate regimes are chosen, and how currency crises can emerge is essential for comprehending the dynamic of modern open economy. Through this analysis, the chapter provide a crucial foundation for understanding the challenging and threat of country face in maintaining stability within an increasingly integrated global financial environment. Next, balance of payment. This is the method for measuring the effect of international financial transaction on the economy. The balance of the payment is the booking system for recording all receipt and payment that have a direct bearing on the movement of funds between nations. The current account show international transactions that involve currency produce goods and services. The trade balance is part of this account and show the difference between export and import. The capital account show the net receipt from capital transaction. The capital flow into a country are recorded as receipt, whereas outflow are registered as payment. Given this definition, the following equation is currency account plus capital account equal net change in governmental international reserve. Next, exchange rate determination in the foreign exchange market. Key determinant include: number 1, interest rate differential; number 2, expectation of exchange rate movement; number 3, inflation difference; and last, demand for foreign versus domestic asset. A core concept introduced is the interest parity condition, which is link interest rate to expected exchange rate change. Exchange rate regimes fixed exchange rate. Central bank maintain asset value through foreign exchange intervention. Number 2, floating exchange rate market force determine the value, and last, manage float. Next, about fixed exchange rate system. Number 1, create the International Monetary Fund or IMF, which set rules and provide loans to deficit countries. And number 2, set up the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development or World Bank, which provide loans to developing countries. Next, about floating exchange rate. In a floating exchange rate regime, the value of currency are allowed to fluctuate against one another. When countries attempt to influence exchange rate via buying and selling currency, the regime is referred to as a managed float regime. Managed float. Central banks are reluctant to give up their ability to intervene in foreign exchange market. Limiting change in exchange rate makes it easier for firms and individuals to plan purchase or sales in the international marketplace. Countries with a trade surplus are reluctant to allow their currency appreciate since it hurts domestic sales. On the other hand, countries with a trade deficit don't want to see their currency lose value since it makes foreign goods more expensive. Next, currency crisis. Crises occur when fixed exchange rate can no longer be defended. Common triggers: number 1, missile exchange rate; number 2, falling foreign reserve; number 3, speculation attack; and last, weak economic fundamentals. Case the 1997 Asian crisis illustrates how fragile fixed exchange regime can be under speculative pressure. Effect of exchange rate on the economic. Exchange rate movement influence: number one, export and import competitive; number two, domestic inflation; number three, capital control. Capital control on either inflow and outflow are difficult to justify given the negative aspect of either set of control. And number four, macroeconomic stability. Depreciation boosts export but increase import costs. The role of the IMF. There is a need for international lender of last resort, or ELLR, and IMF has played this role. ELLR creates moral hazard problem. IMF need to limit moral hazard lent on to countries with good bank supervision. Number four, need to do ELLR role phase and infrequently. So from the material, we can conclusion the international financial system requires careful coordination of monetary policy, exchange rate management, and capital flow regulation. The balance of payment is the bookkeeping system for fund moving between nations was explored. Countries must navigate the trade-off of the policy trilemma while remaining integrated into the global economy. That's all for me. Thank you for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will tell and explain material about aggregate demand and supply analysis. Aggregate demand is the total demand for goods and services in an economic at a certain price level and within a given period. The aggregate demand covers the entire economic sector, household, corporate, government, and overseas. Aggregate request consists of four main components. And number one, consumption, plain investment spending, government expenditure, and net export. The aggregate demand curve has a negative slope or downward aggregate demand equation you can see above. Next factor that make the aggregate demand curve shift. Number one, money supply. If the money supply increase, assuming the speed of money circulation is fixed, then people will have more money to spend. Number two, increase in spending from aggregate demand components, consumption, investment, government expenditure, and net export. Next, aggregate supply. Number one, about long-run aggregate supply. It is determined by the amount of capital and labor and technology available. Vertical at the level of natural output generated by the natural unemployment rate. Number two, short-run aggregate supply, wage and price are sticky, resulting in short-run aggregate supply sloping upwards as companies try to capitalize on short-term gains when price levels rise. Number 3.1, initial equilibrium. Inflation equal to percent, output 10 trillion equal to potential output. This is the ideal condition of stable inflation output according to economic capacity. And last, point 2, inflation raised to 3.5%, output raised to 11 trillion above potential capacity. This means that the economy is overheating, meaning that production exceeds normal capacity. In the short term, it can happen, but in the long run, it is not sustainable because the economy will return to its potential output. Next, the aggregate bit curve will shift to the right when clock long run increase in the total amount of capital in the economy, increase in the total number of workers supply in the economy, available technology upgrades, and decline in the unemployment rate. Next, short run at the time. Number 2, expected inflation. If the company expect inflation to rise, then they will raise the price of goods and wage early, so that the short-run aggregate supply curve shift to the left, which means that at the same time the inflation rate becomes higher. Number 2, price shocks. This happens because there is a sudden shock that makes production cost increase. If production costs go up, then the short run aggregate supply curve shift to the left. And number 3, continuous output gap. If the economy continues to produce above its capacity, company will face higher production costs. So the short run aggregate supply curve will also shift to the left. Next, change in equilibrium aggregate demand shock. You can see the positive demand shock curve, which is a sudden sharp in aggregate demand. For example, due to increased public consumption, the government increasing spending, increased private investment, or increased export. And negative demand shock, which is sudden decline in aggregate demand, for example, due to a decline in household consumption, weak private investment, plummeting export, or financial crisis. You can see the curve both. And the last material, Phillips curve, the negative relationship between unemployment and inflation, and Okun's law explain the negative relationship between the unemployment gap and the output gap. So we can conclusion aggregate demand and supply analysis explain the relationship between total demand and total supply in an economic at different price levels. Aggregate demand is influenced by consumption, investment, government spending, and the net export, while aggregate supply depends on capital, labor, and technology. In the short run, change in price level affect output and inflation, but in the long run, output returns to its potential level. Demand and supply shock cause economic fluctuation such as inflation, recession, or overheating.